on this creation that are living creatures. They come in a form like that. The male mates with the female and produces an egg, and the egg then produces a baby, a child, a animal. That's not unusual. That's not unique in terms of this part of the Quran and understanding the concept what Allah is talking about. Those of us who have been in what was called the first resurrection, the establishment of the Nation of Islam by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then later came under the leadership of Imam Muhammad. Imam Muhammad introduced us to thoughts that simply gave us the idea on what this particular ayat is talking about, this congealed blood is talking about. It gave us the idea how we can think and then manage our way through the understanding of the rest of the Quran. You have to manage your way through the Quran. The Quran is not just something we memorize. It's easy, Allah says, to memorize. It's easy to memorize Quran. That's not the essence of Quran. Allah says, ذَلِكَ كِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. He says that this is a book, guidance for those who have taqwa, those who have the, not necessarily patience, but those who have the will to take the time, to understand what Allah is telling us. Those of us who are willing to give the essence of their time. Some of us are not willing to give time to understand it. Some of us get up in the morning, do what we have to do and hurry out. Not giving up the time. Understanding the Quran is about giving time to your own self. The very essence of which Allah is talking about when He says, Iqra bismi rabbika khalaq. That's the essence that He's talking about, your own self. Allah created man. And when we were blessed, those of us in the first introduction to this understanding, when Imam Muhammad said, man means mind. Now, many of us caught that, but so many of us didn't. And when you measure from the time he said that to the present time, we see that the world has not caught up to the meaning yet. The world has not caught up to the meaning of man means mind. There's so many people still living under the concept that Allah created man out of the dust of the earth, and that dust of the earth is what we see today. That's the man. Most are living in that thinking. And you look at our brothers and sisters in Christianity, that's the essence. Essence. Allah created man that way. Then He brought out a man out of the rib of man, a woman. All of this understanding for the average Christian is a literal concept of how the human being came into existence. And so it is for certain Muslim thinking too. Muslims who do not understand that this is not necessarily talking about the physical or the literal. It is talking about the conscious mind. How the conscious mind was created. This is the unique essence of this creation. The unique essence of this creation is not about the physical. The physical is all over us. And we as a physical creature we're not even a contest for the rest of the creation. We're not even in a thought of the rest of the creation. The rest of the creation would have subdued us thousands of years ago had it been based on our physical anatomy. Had it been based on how fast we could run, or how tall, how high we can jump, or how strong our body was, or how far we can see, or what we can hear, if it was based on that, we would have lost. We would have lost to just the overgrowth of the physical creation. Just the overgrowth of life would have subdued us. We don't have that kind of strength. We don't have the kind of physical strength that can stew this physical creation. When Allah created man, he created man and told the creation, told all of the rest of the creation, he said to the malaika, the angels, those who control the forces of life, he told everything, make sujood, bow down to his man. Not his physical man. He wasn't talking about his physical man. He said, after I have created him from this mud or this dust or this clay, make sujood to him. He's talking about after he made the mind, because the mind is like clay. The mind is like mud. The mind is fashioned because it comes in contact with this physical creation. And generation after generation, we gain knowledge. Generation after generation, we accumulate this knowledge. Generation after generation, we learn how to survive. Then we learn how to build on what we survive. This is what the law is talking about. There's no creature that can do this except man. His mind. His mind. Not his physical body. We don't have that capability in our physical body. It's in our mind. And the brain houses that mind that is built by its contact from the physical creation. The senses, the five senses, smell and touch, all of that accumulates in the brain. Knowledge, growing, developing over time. This is what Iqra is talking about. And if you get that concept, that this is what Allah is talking about, then reading the rest of the Quran becomes more of a guide. It becomes more of a lesson. Okay, what is coming next? What is coming next? What is Allah telling us about this story, about that story? Why is this mentioned and why is that not mentioned? We can see it more clearly when we understand this first concept. That's why this was the first surah revealed. Fatiha wasn't the first surah revealed. It's the most said, but not the first. They always say you get one chance to make a first impression. One chance to make a first impression. That's what Allah did. He took the opportunity in that first impression to make the most important statement, to make the most important point in our life. That he created the mind from this creation, from this congealed blood. That's what the creation represents, congealed blood. From this creation, he created the mind, something unique to all the other creatures. They have a mind, but not on the level of man. Man's mind is so powerful that he made a world within a world. Man's mind is so powerful, he flies from here to the moon, transplant the heart, invents the computer. All of these things come out the man, the mind, from its contact with the physical creation. So all that is to say what? That is to say that Allah does everything with a purpose. Everything creation, there's a purpose for it. What is the purpose for our mind? Just to make airplanes, or just to build houses, or just to have a good time, or what's the purpose behind it? Allah says that he created man so that man can be what we call the vicegerent, or the Khalifa. The Khalifa. The one who not only controls, in one aspect he called the Khalifa an agent. And then in that same aspect he called him an inheritor. The Khalifa, talking about man, the mind of man, talking about that is the shaper, the cultivator of this physical world. No other creature can cultivate and shape the physical world like man. No other creature. No other creature can bring out of this earth brings out of it. You see, the birds, they make nests in the trees. The worms dig holes in the earth. Everything has a spot that it can utilize part of the earth for its living, for its domain, for its existence. But man can go everywhere. Man can go anywhere. That's the power of this mind. It's not limited to the physical world. It's not limited to the physical space that it's in when it finds itself. Allah says there's great power and great energy in man. And he was created for a purpose. And that purpose was to cultivate this creation, was to make this creation anew. Now, there were some things that occurred along with that introduction that the rest of the creation, those who have forces like the angels, the Malaika, and that's, we should have a good grasp of that too. We're now in the year 2020. We're now in the year 2020. We've been here many years, counting from the time that the European came out of Europe and went into South America, North America, and then brought the African on slave ships in 1619. We've been here for many years. We've been coming in and out of knowledge for many years. We've learned religion from other sources other than our own community or our own culture. We learned Christianity by someone else's thinking. We was introduced to Islam before we left Africa. Then here in America, some were able to hold on to some of the Islam, some of the Quran. Like you hear people talk about the word fitna, for example. I used to hear my parents use that term all the time. I hear people in the South use it all the time, and you probably hear it yourself. Fitna, when the person get ready to do something, you fitting to do that. Boy, you better not do that. You fitting to get in trouble. You fitting to get your hind whooped. That's how we use that word. Because it came from our history. Because many of our people who were brought here before were Muslim. That word is in Quran. It means trouble. It means fitna. It means trouble. We kept that part in our culture. That's only one thing we kept. But it was enough to remind us that something can be, we can grab something in this creation and develop it. And as we came through this time, and I'm not just talking about the African American, I'm also talking about the Caucasian American, the European American. He's also responsible for understanding this too. We're not his guardian in this aspect. We have to learn it for ourselves. And by the time the Nation of Islam came along, we had already begun to find out that Christianity just was not for the African American. And Allah had begun to bless some of us with some understanding. And when Imam Muhammad came, it's like bringing a light. And that light began to shine on the evidence that existed, so we can read the evidence, so we can read the record and get an understanding of what the record is about. And part of that record was understanding this Quran. When we talk about, Allah says to the Malaika, or the angels, to make sujood, we should have a grasp of that now. We should be able to grasp that, because when Imam Muhammad explained it years ago, he says the angels, and it says so in Quran too in many, many ways, that the angel really means forces. The forces that move the creation. The forces that move you. The forces that moves everything. See, Allah doesn't move these forces with his own hands, like, and say, I'm going to make the wind blow, so he reaches out. Or he blows his breath and the wind blows. That's not the way this creation is. The creation moves on Allah's command. On Allah's command, he says, be. And it is, that's all it took. And everything else came into existence. The forces that move everything else came into existence. And Allah calls those things the Malaikah. And he calls some of those things the jinn. The jinn is more like the jinn is supposed to obey. In fact, the jinn is a Malaikah when you really look at what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to obey Allah. And the angels obey Allah without question. They don't make up a concept of, I'll do it this way or that way. No, they obey Allah without any question. But the jinn was given a little leeway because the jinn is necessary. The jinn is necessary for the human being to grow. If the human being didn't have that part in him that would question things, we would never make progress because we would just stay put. We see something that the one human being says the world is flat, everybody would just stay put. One human being says we can't fly, everybody just stay put. But Allah created the jinn nature in the human being. So the human being say, la, I don't believe that. Someone in the bunch is going to say, I don't believe that. That's the jinn nature talking. It doesn't have evidence. It doesn't have any evidence of what it's saying, but it has just, I don't believe that in it. It has the power to say la. It has the power to say no. And it's that power to say no is what causes man to stand up and do things. I don't believe what you're talking about in terms of we can't sail around the ocean or we can't do any of these great things. And out of that comes creation for the human being. The Egyptians built the whole ancient world based on that. If the ancient Egyptians had just went with the first knowledge and not say, no, there's more to it than that. This math is greater than what we see here. But because they believed that something was bigger than what they had, they were able to make progress, more progress. And the whole world is established that way. This is not exclusive to Muslim. This is not exclusive to Christian. This is not exclusive to any other religion. This is exclusive to man, all human beings. All human beings have the power to reshape. All human beings have the power to reshape this earth and to reshape our own selves. We have the power to shape ourselves. Now, I know some of us may not believe that, but you tell me how in the world can a man who looks like a man, who has all the apparatus of a man, everything about him, if you strip him down naked from his hair, the root of his hair down to the tip of his toenail, is what you would identify as a male. And yet that person think he's a female. That person think he's a female and he's supposed to respond in the creation like a female. He had to reshape his thinking. He had to reshape his mind. He had to reshape what was happening in his world. He had to reshape the people were telling him time after time, you're a man. His parents were telling him, you're a man. He had to say, no, I feel like a woman. And he had to bait his mind to the point like a sledgehammer. You use a sledgehammer to make marble statues. That's the way you have to beat your mind to get out of your natural state. To get out of your natural state, you have to do that. And that's why we see so much happening in the world today, because man has learned the key to get out of his natural state. Once we're in our natural state, those kinds of things don't exist. So we want to take a short pause. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. In concluding our talk for today, it's so important for us to begin to grasp, not just imams. If you think an imam is over you, if you think an imam is above you, it's because you have not yet grasped the Quran. An imam is no more than your brother. No more, no less than your brother. All of the imams. Every now and then, and he doesn't do this anymore, every now and then Allah raised up one of the brothers amongst the people. He raised them up to be getting to what we call a prophet. They have a closer understanding of what the creation is about than the rest of us. And the last of those was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we don't even have that today. What we have today, we should be able to relate to each other. We should be able to relate to each other, man to man, woman to woman, and get the benefit out of the difference that Allah has created in each of us. He created us each different. None of us are alike. And it's that difference that we're supposed to capitalize on. That difference that's in us that we can give to each other to make the whole situation bigger and better. The world that we are trying to build, the world we are building, not trying to build, because many got to understand it now. The understanding that this world is coming in is a world that understands this creation. No more Mary had a little lamb talk. No more Jack and Jill went up the hill talk. We talk for real now. We talk understanding. We know what a malaika means. We know what an angel is. We know what a jinn is. We know what man is. We know what this creation is, and we see the purpose of our existence. So the world is changing by our language, because it's words that make the mind. And as we change the world. We change the education system. We change the governmental system. There's a reason why Islam is coming up in America. This is not a mistake. Don't think it's a mistake at all. There's a reason that Islam is being raised in America, because America is one of the places on the planet Earth that did something that other nations did not do. It gave the common man power. It gave the common man power to rule himself. It gave the common man power to rule himself, and anybody he puts in charge, if he doesn't like them, he can remove them from that position. He did that. They did that in the Constitution, and not in the Constitution, I don't want to mess that up. He did that in the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence, if you have not read it, you should read it. Read it over and over. It was a statement to Britain by the founders of these colonies in America. And that statement said, we have the power to, there comes a time in every human being's life, man was created with unalienable rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And there comes a time in the life of every people, they get the right to rule themselves. That's Quran. Listen, you may not believe this, but let me just give you this information. That at least 9 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Masons. Masons gets their knowledge from the Quran. And the Shriners are the highest learners of the Quran in Masonry. And the architect, the one they give the Jefferson, the one they said wrote the Declaration of Independence, is the Quran they have in the White House now. That's his Quran. That one of our brothers gave his pledge on. So, we want to just remind us the power we have here, the purpose we have here. We have a purpose in America. You're not a mistake. We're not a mistake. There's a purpose to make a change in the world. So we ask Almighty Allah to bless us.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح